There are certain, students generally take the SATs. They get into a college. They have students have the option of taking AP classes too. AP classes are college level classes that you can take in high school. And depending on how well you do in high school and your SATs, you can place in a college. And they're all different types of, college setups. There's private colleges, there's state-run colleges, there are universities that incorporate different colleges. There are also certain programs that allow you to apply straight to medical school right after high school. And they're called BA-MD programs, bachelor's and MD programs combined, where you can actually get into a medical school right after you do 2 years of college maybe, where you complete the pre-medical sciences. The pre-medical sciences include physics, 1 year, chemistry 1 year, 1 year of biology, and certain places also require math, but New York State does not require advanced math classes for admissions to medical school. So if you go straight from high school to medical school, you can get into an accelerated program where you have to maintain a certain GPA and transition over to medical school. Medical school in this country consists of 4 years. 2 years of preclinical training and 2 years of clinical training. The 2 years of preclinical training include your basic science class, biochemistry, anatomy, gross anatomy, microbiology, histology, physiology, and pathology. Those are the major classes that you take. Now, in order to get into the medical school, a lot of you're required to take an entrance exam also for medical school, which is called the MCAT if you're doing it within college. After you've completed your first 2 years of medical sciences, you sit for a licensing exam called the USMLE. And it's basically a test that you have on the computer that you take 90 questions in the morning, 90 in the afternoon. And you sit for it, and then you can have the results back to you within a month. And then you move on to your clinical training. Core clinical training in medical school consists of 5 disciplines: surgery for 12 weeks, medicine for 12 weeks, psychiatry for 6 weeks, OBGYN for 6 weeks, and pediatrics for 6 weeks. After you complete those core curriculums, you again sit for another exam called Step 2, USMLE Step 2. And that covers your clinical sciences. It's in your 4th year of medical school that you really decide what field of medicine you want to go into. And there's people think of doctors as, okay, they have a prescription pad, they have a stethoscope, but there are doctors who don't even carry stethoscopes. The field of medicine is very, very vast. There are people who just look at x-rays, called radiologists. There are people who just do skin biopsies for moles and different things to analyze them. They're called dermatologists. There are people who put people to sleep, and that's what they do for a living, and they wake up in the morning and they go to the hospital, and anybody who's scheduled to go to the operating theater, they put them on a ventilator. They're called anesthesiologists. So there are a lot of different types of doctors. The field of medicine encompasses a lot of different areas. So generally speaking, in your 3rd year of medical school, you apply to different programs across the country, and it's called the residency. And medicine residency is 3 years. So medicine residency includes 3 years, and then later on you can go on for a subspecialty training, which can be another 3 years in different fields, including cardiology, gastroenterology. So there are quite a few years that are involved. So when all is said and done, if you're going straight through 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, 3 years of training, you can end up being how old?
30.
30. So I'm definitely over 30. So it does have a lot of years. When you're in residency, you do get paid. You do get paid for your training, but it's not much. The amount of hours that you put on long hours. The first year, you're essentially almost married to the hospital, where you're spending nights in the hospital. New York State now has that law, that the 24-hour rule, that you don't have to spend more than 24 hours in the hospital. When I trained, this wasn't true. We could spend 36 hours in the hospital. But now every hospital in the nation has that rule where you can only spend no more than 24 hours in a hospital. So after residency and after your training and after you get into the real world, you have different options. You know, different options as far as what field of medicine you want to go into, but as well, you have different options to what type of practice you want to be, what kind of doctor you want to be. Do you want to be part of an academic center, a research-based doctor? Do you want to be in a clinic setting, or do you want to be in a group with other doctors? So you also have those options.